Before the video starts, I would just like to tell you that I am recording in a different place today, so there might be some background noises. Hello guys, and welcome back to another game review. Today I will be reviewing Saints Row 3 Remastered. Saints Row 3 Remastered was played on the Xbox One X. I will start this review off by reviewing the graphics of the game, considering this is a remaster. In my opinion, the graphics aren't as great as you would expect on the current generation consoles. Don't get me wrong, they are really good graphics, just not standard for something like an Xbox One X. The god rays are really well done, and added a sense of realism and extra lighting to the game. At nighttime, some parts of the map get really dark at the point where you can't see anything. I wasn't able to capture it, but there is a weather state that looks terrible, and it's fog. With fog, you can't see a thing, especially when you are flying. Some of the cars and vehicles have been redesigned. Not as much as I thought they would be, but the one that I did notice was the police car. The police cars, though, don't actually look very good anymore. The lighting in the city at night is incredible. In my opinion, it looks very nice and lights up perfectly. All the characters in the game have been redone. Some of the characters look really good now, and some of the others don't look as good.
Holy Jesus!
The water looks okay sometimes. It looks like gelatin over liquid. That's the only way I feel like I can explain what it looks like. I did notice sometimes that the background images would be in the foreground, and that can be quite distracting, especially when you are trying to see a word, but you can't see it. Another thing that I've noticed a lot of people getting confused about was if on console you can play at 60 FPS. I concluded that yes, you can play at 60 FPS on consoles, at least on the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. There is an option within the pause menu to cap the FPS. I decided to turn the cap off, and I got 60 FPS regularly. Sometimes it did drop, but not often. If you cap the FPS, it'll cap it at 30 frames per second. I do warn you that if you do not cap the frames, the game can become more unstable. In my experience, the game only crashed once. I did notice that the HDR, in my opinion, did not look good, especially in the midday times of the game. Everything was too bright, and when I turned the brightness down, it looked good. The problem with that, though, is when it reached nighttime, everything was way too dark. I will admit, though, that it depends on the type of TV that you have. I prefer that the HDR be off, but that depends on you. There is 4K, and that looks really good, so at least there's that. Anyways, I will go on to the story now. There will be a small spoiler in the beginning, but hopefully if you've played the game by now, you'll know. Saints Row 3 takes place 2 years after the events of Saints Row 2. After the events of Saints Row 2, the 3rd Street Saints entered a business relationship with Altor. After this, the Saints became public icons. Shaundi gets her own dating show called I Want to Sleep with Shaundi. Planet Saints clothing store opens, selling all types of 3rd Street Saints merchandise, and Pierce starts up his music career. The game starts off with you robbing a bank in Stillwater, and then you get caught by the police, and then you have a meeting with a guy named Philippe Loren in his private plane. After some disagreeing, you start a fight and then leave the cockpit, and Johnny stays behind to let the boss and Shaundi escape. Right before the protagonist and Shaundi are about to jump off the plane,
7 Mac 11's about 8, 38's 9, 9, 10 Mac 10's the shit's never end.
Johnny Gat gets killed. In my honest opinion, they should not have killed him off. He got killed off in such a stupid way that you would never think he would die in that way. I won't try and spoil too much of the story, but that's just the beginning. Otherwise, the story is actually really good. It's not too long, and the game took me only about 8 hours to complete. The main story did not feel like 8 hours, and felt like a longer game. There were some hilarious moments within the game, like in one part in a cutscene, Pierce is looking around Kinsey's hideout, and he finds a big dildo, and it's quite funny. The music in this game is really good. As usual, you have the regular radio stations, and you have the regular genres of music, from hip-hop, electronic, to rock. A lot of the music in this game is very recognizable. They have artists from Kanye West,
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Bonnie Tyler, Marilyn Manson, and Motley Crue. They even have a remixed version of the theme song for Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which personally is a really good song. Because this is a remaster, some of the sounds are not noticeably different, but they are different. The one sound that doesn't sound good at all is the minigun. In the original Saints Row the Third, the minigun had an impact, but in this one the sound is very dull and I don't like it at all. Other sound issues include the fact that sometimes the lip syncing is off. There are some cool actors like Hulk Hogan and Burt Reynolds that are voices within the game. The controls are something that I don't like very much. They are completely different from the two past games, and you can't even change the control schemes. I also would have liked to have the controls for the cars and helicopters to be the same. They are not the same in this game, and sometimes they can get confusing. Some of the cars are pretty hard to control as well. I wish they would have stuck to the same type of driving in the past two games. The game company was kind enough to include all DLCs for free, and the remaster of this game. This means that even after completing the game, there are many more things that you can play. One of the added storylines is called The Trouble with the Clones. In the storyline, a nerd ends up cloning Johnny Gat and Aisha. It's quite a wacky storyline, but kind of funny at some points. You can also get different types of clothing, and all that fun stuff. The game can for sure be played again, and this is my third time playing this game. It is quite different from the past two games, but in this one there's just so much fun to have, and there's a lot of stuff to do. I don't usually get bored, but it can be repetitive trying to complete all of the activities just to take over the city. Otherwise, this game was quite a lot of fun. There are some crazy missions, like one of them including you having to be in a car with a tiger. And the other awesome moments, like when you're in Murder Brawl, you have to kill a bunch of minions with a chainsaw. I like that a lot of this game, including the wacky moments that were included within the story. They could have done quite a lot of things better with the sound design and the odd glitch, but this is a remaster, and I played it the day it was released, so I'm sure there will be patches released soon. There were a lot of different things gameplay-wise in this game. The melee fighting was much better, because it would lock onto the characters you are trying to beat up, so it would be easier to fight them. There are multiple weapons in this game, including crazy ones, like the Penetrator, which was really funny because it's just a giant dildo that you beat up people with. Another funny weapon is called Farts in a Jar, where you throw a jar of farts at somebody and it stuns them. You can also get tattoos, which again are a really good way to customize your character. The only difference is with tattoos where you can get them in this game. You can get them on the face and the neck, even the hands. In character creation, you can choose a lot of things you can change. Different face paints, you can have scars and battle scars on your face, you can change your voice, you can change your genders, you can change how big your junk is.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
And you can even paint your fingernails. Heck, you can even change the skin color to something like titanium, which is really cool if you want to make your character look really crazy. The only problem I have with character customization is the fact that you don't have as many options with hairdos. The clothing in this game is really well done in my opinion, and it actually was very hard for me to choose what kind of clothing I wanted. The only problem with the clothing that I have in this game is that the color customization is not good. You can customize your cars, which is really cool to have, and you do have more customization options than in the past games. You can change the colors inside. You can change the colors on the inside, and you can even add an underglow to the car. And you can add reinforced parts of the car so the car doesn't get destroyed as easily. Speaking of vehicles, the one vehicle that they did add in Saints Row the Third were VTOLs. VTOLs are just basically fighter jets that can hover. These vehicles can be very helpful when trying to take out multiple gang members at once and to take over gang territory. Other customization options can be to your cribs. You can't change the interior, but you can change the look of the exterior. There are some added benefits to you upgrading your crib, but not very much. But I do recommend upgrading the exterior because it just looks cool. There are more new activities in this game that are actually a lot of fun. There are new activities like Professor Genki's Cirque, where it is basically a game show, but you have to kill all the mascots and get to the end without dying and under the time limit. There's also another activity that I personally really like, and that's Tank Mayhem. It's basically the same thing as Mayhem, but instead you have a tank and it's a lot of fun. There are cheat codes, but I did not use them because I did not have to use them. That's the really good thing about this game that I really like, is that it's easier than the older games, and it's also more fun. There are a lot less places that can be entered in this game, and that's quite disappointing, because I remember in Saints Row 2, where there were a lot more Easter eggs and enterable places that to this day I still can find. One thing I do not like is that a lot of the cars seem very slow, like they seem slower than the older games. I also noticed that the map is quite smaller, which I really don't like. The map seems so small, and I think they have the cars go slower just then so the map can seem bigger. I'm personally very disappointed in the map that they have. With every review I do, I will give a rating out of 100. I give Saints Row the Third Remastered a 90 out of 100. I give this rating because all around, this game is so much fun, and it just has so much to offer. The rating of this game heavily depends on the graphics. If I was just reviewing the regular Saints Row the Third, I probably would have given it an 80 or an 85. It's just the graphics are so good in this that I just can't justify giving it such a low rank. Besides, the graphics, there's just so much to do, and so much comedic moments you have during the story mode. What other game could you say that you can beat somebody up with a big purple dildo, or literally throw a jar of farts at somebody? It's just that type of game that no matter who you are, there can be funny moments. Anyways, I was very happy that this game was remastered. It really did deserve it. I'd rather have Saints Row 2, but with coding issues and stuff, I understand. But anyways, the next game that will be reviewed is Saints Row 4. Thank you all, and see you next time.
Holy Jesus!